I will say this. I used to always have a question at the end of an interview. For the people that stayed, hello, congratulations. You got my number one question. The question that I always ask at the end of an interview is,
what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Care to Elaborate with Taylor and Travarus. We are back with another season 2 guest, someone that we both know, somebody we both respect. But before we get to this person, I want to ask my co-host Taylor, how are you doing?
I feel great. I recently have added another year of life to my life. So,
Hey,
y'all,
congratulations.
frontal
Another
lobe
trip around the
almost
sun.
done. Look, another trip around the sun. The frontal lobe almost done developing. Anyway, let's get into this episode because I'm excited.
So today, you all may get a chance to understand and hear some tips that will help you, whether you are a Gen Z, whether you are a millennial. These tips, we hope, are going to be some things that are universal and that all folks can use. But I want to give our guest the time to introduce herself. She is a master recruiter, someone who we deeply respect, someone that we get a chance to see often. So I'll pass the mic over to her to let her introduce herself.
thank you so much. I love this intro. Hi, my name is Ariane. I am a recruiter at a tech company, and I'm super excited to be here. So I graduated from Hampton University, and I started full-time at a company in 2020, so during COVID. I was originally in technical account management, and then I pivoted into recruiting. And after like 2 years of working at this company and have enjoyed it so far. So super excited to share more about recruiting, some tips, and how to stand out.
With that said, a lot of the things that I want to talk about are going to be under the house of talent acquisition, at least to start. And for those who are unaware, I think you all should know talent acquisition is a place that houses all recruiting, all program management, people who join the company, people who retain people at the company. What drew you to a career in talent acquisition?
Yeah, so in college, I was in the School of Business, and I was the girl that kind of like Taylor on LinkedIn, but like in real life. So I was the girl in the School of Business that had the Google Doc with all the internships that were becoming available and sharing with everybody that I knew. And I was also very passionate about mentorship. And so I kind of felt like that transferred into my dedication to helping students, especially going to an HBCU, like very passionate about uplifting the community, sharing opportunities. We always say at Hampton, like reach back while climbing. So I think that that's really important. And that's kind of what inspired me to start a career in talent acquisition, especially I had no experience. So very grateful for the opportunity to start and grow there.
What's one thing that you think folks don't know about being a recruiter or working in talent acquisition?
It's a lot of work. We're not just like traveling and setting up at a career fair and talking to you and then like picking the resumes that we want. We do research, we have strategies, we have a lot of thought partners, we collaborate with other folks within TA to do our job effectively. And also representing the business and sharing information, sharing new products. It's a lot that goes into it, and it's a very intentional process, especially with the schools that we engage with and the students that we engage with. It's not just like drawing a name out of a hat. It's really intentional work that we have to do.
I'm going to go back for 1 second. I want to acknowledge that you work in the university space, right? So you work in the university space So before we move on to the next question, can you describe what it's like for a season going from school to school, school, home, school across the country? Like, do you have regions? How does it work?
Yes. So I'm based in Texas and essentially have a function. So I used to support MBA recruiting. So from, I would say, September to at least November, December sometimes, I would be traveling to conferences, to schools. Sometimes I'd be gone like 2 weeks at a time. Then also we do something and we do recruiting not recruiting, but kind of like planning for recruiting in the fall, in the spring. So I'm doing a lot of travel right now. I'm also gone the same amount of time. So sometimes a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, or going from one location to another location, then going back home, then hosting virtual events. So it's a lot of back and forth. It depends on your function at most companies of you supporting a certain business. So whether that's tech, non-tech, different things like that. And also depending on the month, depending on, what school is we partner with, we have a lot of partnerships that we work on year round. It's not just like, I'm coming to talk to you for this 1 month. We're building that relationship. We're having conversations with how to engage with students and how to host events and what they're interested in.
This sounds like a lot of travel. I hope you got your mileage points for your airline because
Yes, I'm
That's
sure
a
going to
fact.
connect every account. for airline and hotels. So that's always
Okay.
important for you too.
Look, I was upgraded. My status got upgraded because I traveled so much for work. So I can only
Talk about
imagine
it.
what y'all's statuses look like right
I
now.
went
So,
from United Wood to United Silver.
oh, me too. You get a free check bag and
Oh,
free upgrades.
and it's up to 70 pounds. And I get United. I mean, I get Economy Plus without having to pay
I
for it with my
love that
long
economy plus,
legs.
baby. I
Talk.
booked a flight with my friend. She was
Sponsor
about to
him
get left
now.
in the back of the plane because I'm sitting in the front.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, look,
Sorry
sorry
about
to
that.
that girl. But okay, thank you, Ariane, for all of that. And I really want to get into what people probably are intrigued to hear about in regards of what they should potentially do when it comes to applying. So, can you tell us, what are some common mistakes that you see amongst the applicants that you recruit for when it comes to applying for these internships?
I would say that they don't always include all of their experience. So if you have include all of your experience, whether it's skill set, if you have skills with certain products from different tech companies or different functions, include those because you never know how that stands out. I'm also really big on students including their involvement in the community, especially if they're like sophomores and they want an internship, or also personal projects. As far as like, I recently saw a sophomore's resume where they had a personal project where they created an app, and that was really cool. And I loved learning about that, but also skill set and involvement on campus. I only had one internship, and so I involved all my clubs. I was president, vice president, and program director at one point of a natural hair and service-based organization. We had a real work, we had a real budget. Like I included those metrics. So don't count yourself short if you're a sophomore and want to have an internship. Just make sure to include all of your experience. And I want to be able to understand your experience in full by just reading your resume. You don't need a cover letter to do that. I think if you kind of explain kind of like the STAR method, giving the results, giving numbers, giving how you improve something or increase something is really important.
Can you describe the STAR method
Yes.
for people listening?
Yes. So STAR method is situation, task, action, and result. And that's something that you want to use in your interview. So that way the interviewer knows that you're able to communicate effectively what you've done in your career or in your internships. And also they don't have to ask follow-up questions because you explained the situation. What was your task? What action did you take? And what was the result? Or I would say the impact that you had in that situation in a cross-functional setting, different things like that.
Okay, go back to a point. You mentioned that students do not need cover letters. I have heard many things about cover letters and I'm still confused myself. So can you expand upon that? Do you read them? Do you not read? You're saying they don't make a difference necessarily in your opinion.
Yes, my personal opinion, the only reason I would say that you should have a cover letter is if you're wanting to pivot into a different industry and your experience is not spelled that out in your resume. However, I just think that you should add a summary on your resume instead of.
Not however, comma.
I love that. I be saying that. It's good.
I think that that's really important because I will easily read a summary before I open a cover letter. Recruiters are only spending 5 to 7 seconds, if that, looking at your resume. So you don't need to spend so much time creating an additional page that I probably won't be able to see. Because of how fast we work, we have to get things out quickly to support the business effectively. So I would definitely say just have a summary where it kind of explains like, hey, I have a background in PR or in media industry. I'm super interested in pivoting into a product management role. List 3 skill sets that you have in that summary. Don't make it so long. It needs to kind of be, I can glance at it and understand what you said, and then let your skill set speak for itself.
Quickly, let's fuck up some myths real quick because you hit on the thing that I think people are tuning in for. How long does a recruiter stay on a resume?
This reminds me of that thing. Do you only have 30? You only have 30 minutes?
Yeah.
It's giving that, like, dog.
And I'll translate in Travarus language and you tell me if this is correct, okay? All right. Don't do a cover letter. It's not reading that shit. Correct?
That's correct.
Correct. Sure. All right. And if you are not going to make a cover letter, give me a summary at the top so I can understand what you're going to put in a cover letter that I wasn't going to read. Correct. Cool.
3 sentences max.
And the last thing, should a resume be longer than 1 page?
I was going to ask that.
Okay. All right.
Such as a student, you don't have that much experience. Like maybe if you have 15, but even then, as a career professional, like that has been working for 10 to 15 years, you kind of got to know maybe like the last 4 experiences, and then everything else you just leave the title and the date so they know. But focus on the skill set. That's really what matters. And as a student, you don't have that much experience. And you should be able to use at least 3 to 4, I would say 3 to 4 bullet points per job or internship. And also break up your resume. You know, like if it's, I always put what is it? Primary experience or like supported experience or personal projects and clubs. So that way they know the difference. It's all important, but it's also just easy, like I said, easier to read.
I have many questions now. Okay, so let's say I'm gonna use myself as an example. Let's say that
we playing a game.
We are playing a game. Look, we just throwing stuff out there. Let's say, you know, I had 6 or 7 internships or like roles related to what I wanted to do. On my resume, is it important for me to go in the chronological order or reverse chronological order of, you know, the most present to most recent to what I did in the past? Or is it important to include where I had the most impact, even if I have to jump from, you know, a couple months in between? Like, what is the best way to format a resume like that?
I would still do chronological because I feel like the experience speaks for itself. And if you have to, like I said, break it up, like say you had 2 internships, but then between those 2 internships, you did a big project, I would still separate it by project. I wouldn't leave it in the primary space.
Got it.
So, or some people say like relevant experience or primary experience, internships, kind of however you want to break it up. But I would just say to leave it there because again, I'm not spending so much time looking at it and I don't want to be confused about how, like, what order I'm looking at it in.
So the most recent experience trumps the most relevant experience.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
But I would just say
give me the nuance. In your opinion, right? Not speaking for all recruiters, but in your opinion.
I would say it's just easier to kind of know like what's the most recent thing that you've done. But if you want to highlight those things, I think that's important too. And I think it speaks for itself, right? If I see the impact that you've made, I think that's really important. But also as a student, it's kind of important to see what also you're working on right now, or if you have an internship or what's going on, depending on what you're applying for.
Okay, I got another. Okay, this is great because I have so many things that I really want your expertise on. Okay, so let's say again, I'm a student. I include my most, you know, recent experience. Let's say that I have, you know, a couple other roles that I have included on my LinkedIn. Are you as a recruiter looking at students' LinkedIn's if they link them to the top? Like, do y'all really go digging through that, or is it more so resume only?
It depends. I usually don't look at their LinkedIn. I don't need to look at their LinkedIn if I have their resume. I think it's also not as important. Could you repeat the last part of your question? Because I want to make sure that
I think I'm trying to say, like, do you look at the LinkedIn, number one? And number two, if you do look at the LinkedIn, do you factor in the other experiences that they may have that are not on their resume? That's how I'll put it.
When I look at the LinkedIn, I'm sometimes looking if for the grad date because they might not have included it. That's usually the only time I open it. I don't look at it for any other reason. Honestly, I expect the resume to say what it says and on LinkedIn. And I know some students kind of don't share everything or they don't update it as much, but that's kind of what I look for. And I'm not saying it's not Bible. This is just my personal experience, but that's usually what it is because it's right there. The only time I would open any additional links in a student's resumes if they have like a portfolio, they're a design student, definitely include that. If you're a design student, please add your portfolio. Please make sure it's a clickable link so that way that the recruiter can look at it.
That's what I was going to say also. Like, I think you clicking that link takes less time away. So at that point, you're going from 5 to 7 seconds to 15 seconds, and that's 2 other people's resumes you could have been looking at. Right. But what I was going to say is, with all of this conversation about what should be on your resume, what's an underrated way to stand out to recruiters if you only have 5 to 7 seconds to impress someone on paper?
Yeah, I think I kind of said it before, but just like community involvement and all, because like you're a person, right? And I think at the company that I work at, it's very important that you show up as a person, not just like I can work really hard or I have all this experience. I think it really stands out, especially when you're an intern. They want to know what else you can bring to the table. It's not just like, okay, like obviously you can do the job if your resume is great, but what are you passionate about? Are you a chef on the side? Do you tutor kids? Have you like traveled abroad and like built a school? You know, just what kind of things have you done? And I don't think I've seen a lot of fun, like cool things. And I was like, wow, how do you have time? Like
prove it.
Musicians.
Nope. Prove it.
Oh, for real, right?
I got a shovel And I got some kids. Make a school right now. Make a school.
Today.
No, it's pretty awesome because students are really involved or just like passion projects or like they always put that on their resume or like skills and
Yeah.
different things like that. I think just really showing up and helping me, like the more I understand through your resume, the more easily I am to like want to move you forward because I don't have any questions. It's kind of like all spelled out and this person would be a good fit. Awesome.
Is that rare though? How rare is it to find a resume that answers all your questions and you can move on? How rare is it that the resumes are that clean?
I don't think it's that rare, but then also I was sourcing for MBA students, so I was like
Valid,
they were
valid. They're
like
trained a
adults,
bit different.
they were
Yeah,
like
yeah.
career professionals. So I would say, but even then, I've seen some students that are like sophomores with great resumes. I think it's just you actually making the time and taking the time to create a resume that you feel shows all of your experience. And also, I want to say one thing too. Don't use the same resume for every role that you apply for. If you're
Yep.
applying for multiple roles, you need to be creating different resumes. And I know that's a lot of time. I haven't updated my resume in probably a year. I need to take time to do that, but you have to be intentional because say that you apply for 3 of our roles and I see the same resume, I don't really know what the difference is. And that's why it's important for you to read the job description and then go back to your resume and say, okay, they're asking for leadership skills. How have I showed this in my experience? And they're literally asking for that because that's what they're looking for when they go back and source for resumes. So it's not just
Mm-hmm.
random. It's very intentional. And you should put your best foot forward. That's how you get selected. I feel like a lot of students feel like they're just going into like a black hole and they're not going to be seen. And that's simply not true, no matter how big the company is.
Okay, let's talk about this acronym that people be talking about and really don't know. Let's talk about this thing called the ATS. How does that work? Because I feel like I've heard different things. I don't know who lying, who
They
telling the
got
truth.
hacks on hacks how to break that thing, and they
That's what
don't
I'm
ever
saying.
work. They don't be working. Not to me.
And so my whole thing is, how does that work, one? And do you see everyone's resume who applies to like the job that you've posted?
No.
Before that, can you explain what the ATS
Yeah,
is?
explain what that is
Yes,
first.
applicant tracking system. And so every company's different. Some people use AI for assistance, different things like that. Personally, my job, we don't do that. But we do have a strategy. So essentially, I can kind of walk you through the phase of like after a job is posted to like selecting resumes if we can do that.
Yes.
Let's do it.
So essentially the job is posted. Then I have a meeting with the hiring manager and we ask them what they want in a candidate. Like, what are some skill sets that you want? What are some nice to haves? What are some must haves? And so essentially I go off the must haves first, but I also look for the nice to haves. So that could be certain experience, that could be AI interest, that could be experience with marketing, brand marketing, different things like that. And so once they share that information with me, I go to the job and I search the keywords that they've given me to kind of select students. And also, I also have the information about what the intern would be doing. So what team they're on, what would the project look like. So in addition to having that, I also kind of know what the hiring manager is looking for as far as a candidate profile. So I will then go in and select about 10 to 20 students. Say they come back and share like 7 they want to interview. And then that's kind of the same process over and over again, depending on how many they select, how happy they are with the interview process, and different things like that.
How
Okay.
often do you feel that you have to coach the hiring manager on candidates that you feel are actually great for the role, but sometimes their bias may be in the way?
Yeah, so we do. They have training for hiring managers, but we also have something called a kickoff call, which is what I was describing earlier with the skill sets and different things and understanding the candidate profile. And so during that call, as the sourcing recruiter, I make sure to let them know of like partnerships that we have that we've invested in, students that we've met. And I also, you guys know me in real life, so I am very much an advocate for people that I believe in and I think that should have an opportunity. And so I always add context if I'm sending the email with the resumes of like, hey, I think this student really stands out, or I met this candidate, they are very strong here, or they have an interest in this product or in this team. And so I would make sure to advocate for students. And it's been pretty successful, I would say. I know a lot of students who have got to the final rounds just off of my recommendation and also me meeting them in person and like preparing them and advocating for them.
Ooh, okay. First of all, thank you, Ariane, for advocating for people out here because
Facts.
I've had so many conversations with students and it is so hard to get an internship right now. I mean, my goodness gracious. I've seen some crazy stories. I've heard some crazy stories. So thank you advocating for
But
people.
before, what I also wanted to highlight and say thank you for is the advocacy in the ways that you articulate what the need is and you find people to fill that need. Because what I also find is that recruiters are soft and they allow the hiring manager to dictate, and they begin to ignore some of the things that they actually want for somebody that's more familiar. And I find that a lot of recruiters, both experience and university, just cave. If they found a candidate that's like dope, hiring manager comes back and says, nah. What's behind the no? We need to know more. It's like there's no pushback that I've seen at mass. So the advocacy is really, really important because without that, a lot of candidates don't get through.
Yeah, that's true. And I've taken it a step further, and if they want another set of resumes, I say first you need to fill out this feedback form, because what wasn't in this resume?
Yes.
I need to understand that. First of all, that's my job.
Yeah.
And second, like, we're not just going to pass students because they didn't go to an Ivy League school or because they're not from your alma mater, or you know what I mean? So it's one thing if they're just not a fit, which is totally fine and happens a lot. But I need to understand what's missing, because we get so many applicants. Every company gets so many applicants. Things are posted on LinkedIn. Taylor does her thing. You know what I mean? Like, I know recruiters are busy, but it's also just, I need to understand, did your expectations change after having interviews? That's totally fine.
Yes.
Like, you have your first round interview, like, oh, I thought I wanted this in a candidate, but this is not as important. Totally fine. But I need to be aware of that. And that holds me accountable. That holds them accountable, because everybody doesn't communicate great all the time. So I need to have that information. And so I think that's just doing your job, but also advocating for students. I think students also, one thing I'm going to add, that students always ask me, and I don't know why I get this question. They're like, should I wait to apply? I'm like, what do you
No.
wait? Like,
wait for what?
I'm literally confused every time I get that question. I think students have to do their due diligence and make sure, like, if you're interested in companies, like, you're following that website, you're signing up for the emails, for things like that, because you can't blame the recruiter that you didn't get selected for the interview. It's like, did you put your best foot forward? Did you add all your experience? Does your experience align with what they're asking for the job? That's important too. So
it's a possibility that you just weren't good enough for this job. And that's
I'm
okay.
Not saying good enough, but it's like,
but look, all right, I know we're being PC. We're being PC.
But really,
everyone isn't applicable for every job. I don't care how talented you are.
Yeah.
Everyone isn't applicable for every job. When I say good enough, I mean like your skill set doesn't align with this one. That's the PC way of saying it. But dog, you're not good enough for this yet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. But it's also, for hiring managers, they have to realize we're hiring for potential. Like, was it interesting?
Yes.
I think they forget that, because some hiring managers that have interns, they also hire full time, and I'm like, wait, we got to set expectations correctly. You are hiring an intern. They're going to be here for 3 months max. They're not saving lives. They're not changing the world. Like, they're learning from you, and that's why, to me, the soft skills are fine. Like, having soft skills, like, you can learn the hard skills. Do you have the soft skills? Do you have the things that get you in the door, that allow you to have the opportunity? Obviously for tech, you need to have the hard skills, but also, to your question earlier about, like, what do you look for on, like, a resume, or like, what is a great candidate? I would say that I can tell that you're willing to learn, like, you want to learn, like, through your interest, through your experience with different projects or different clubs or different opportunities, or being selected by, like, oh, I have a scholarship, or I'm in this club, but I'm doing these things. It's not about doing everything, because I don't think doing everything is the best way to do things. I think it's like, you're involved enough that you make an impact and you're interested, and you're also keeping up with your studies. So
I want to go back to a point that you made, I think, as a part of your previous answer. And you talked about how, you go into these career fairs, to these different events, and you talk to students. And I want to ask you, how much does networking matter when applying for these internships? Because again, it's hard to get an internship nowadays. Everyone is applying at these big, large companies. Everyone wants to work in tech. So how does networking play a difference?
I would definitely say, if you meet your employer in person, it's easier. Especially because I've never been a student. I mean, obviously I've been under college like almost 5 years, but I've to, like, reach out to, okay, not too much. Okay, relax.
Okay,
I'm gonna stall you out. I'm gonna stall you out because you ride the line of the millennial Gen Z attitude. So we'll get to that in a minute.
I'm a millennial. I claim it I claim it through and through. My sister is a millennial, and I feel like her influence. I feel like a millennial, but I did graduate during COVID, so it was a crazy time.
Yeah.
So, for example, I met my employer as a student at a student conference, and so I had that in person, that in person interaction. And my first round interview was that same day. So I feel like if you're meeting people or
That's fire.
companies are coming on campus, take advantage of that because they've flown their employees out. If they have coffee chats, that's also how I found my internship. They came on campus and I signed up for a coffee chat, and the person was actually a Hampton alum, so that was really cool too. And she looked out, like she gave me tips. We talked about my experience, how I could do better, different things like that. Then I moved forward, and they flew me out for my final round interview, also pre-COVID. So that's how they were doing things pre-COVID. But I would definitely say to network, it's important. I wouldn't force, like, it's nice to reach out via LinkedIn and ask people's time, but that's not a guarantee. But I feel like if you know a company's coming on campus, go to the info session, go to the coffee chats, like just sign up. Even if it's just to learn more information, like, oh, I might want to work in finance, I might want to work here. Still go and ask questions. And also do your due diligence as a student. Go on their website, learn about their products, learn about like what the latest thing is that they did in the media. That's important because I can tell when students don't do their research. So before you go network, make sure you do your research. But I would definitely say networking is so important. And even if it's peer-to-peer, especially now with these candidates are so talented. They have so much experience. They have so much drive. Like, you need to have peers to look out for you too, because you never know what you can learn from them, how they can prepare you, how they can connect you with their mentor. But yeah, long story short, like, networking is always important.
You said something that I want to hit on, and I had a direct example around following the company that you're trying to be employed by. I was at a conference last week, and I had heard a colleague who was talking to a candidate who was in the room. When this candidate interviewed, he mentioned the stock price, the products we're working on, the employee value, the company values. She remembered that. It might have been like a 2-month span and gap between when the interview happened and when this conference was happening. And she remembered this person directly. And I think that speaks to have the information solid on the company. Don't just throw things out there willy-nilly.
Also, students, go to conferences, because a lot of companies are only going to conferences because they can meet so many students in one setting. And it's also just easier. Like, it's cost effective, all those different things. So back to your question, I would say, most of them I meet more than once, because like I said, I did recruit for MBA, so they were in their first year, then they come back the next year in their second year. Or, oh, I met you at this conference. I'm like, oh yeah, like I really don't have a hard time remembering people.
But do you remember? Is that oh yeah like official, or that oh yeah is like, yeah, what's up?
No, I remember, but I'm also just like, I don't remember your experience. I don't remember like what you wanted to do.
Right.
Like,
like, hey, like I get an email from them every month where I have those kind of students. But other than that, I feel like they're pretty memorable.
That's dope. That's dope.
Because I'm really dedicated to what I do. I remember I went to a conference in October of last year, and a student came up to me. We were at a career fair, and this career fair was like 4 hours long. We were like halfway. No, it was like 6 hours, and we were like halfway through the career. I know, very long. We were halfway through the career fair, and a student came up to me, and I'm the kind of recruiter that, like, if I meet you, hey, how are you? Okay, what are you interested in? I don't need like your pitch. Like, I don't need that. I need your resume. Like, what are you interested
Save
in?
it. Save it.
Straight to the point, baby. She said, "Don't waste my time."
I'm just straight to the point.
I don't have it.
It's like, I don't want you to waste your breath. I don't even know what your resume looks like, and I'm a visual learner, so like, let me look. I'm like, oh, what are you interested in? Okay, because I'm very much
look at your resume and she go,
no, like.
Wow.
No, listen.
Are you sure? Are you in the right place?
Listen, no, this is not it. The point is, the student came up to me. I'm like, oh, can I see your resume? And he was like, oh my gosh, like I've been here for like 3 hours and you're the first recruiter to ask to see my resume. And I'm like, what are we here for? Like, if we're not here to like find candidates, you know what I mean? So I was like, no, it's really important to me because I want to educate the student on how they can make their resume better. So when they go apply, they have a better chance. You know what I'm saying? And of course, you interacted with us. So we prioritize those students anyway, but it's also just my job is to let you know what you should do because you want to be here. I know what it takes to be here. So why would I not let you know that? You know what I mean?
Logistical question. How do you want people to have their resumes? Do you want paper, or if they have their phone, is that applicable?
So we usually have like a QR code for you to scan it.
Oh yeah, true. You just upload.
If I'm like meeting you, I'll say, hey, can I see a copy? But I let them know I'm going to give it back to you because like paper, I'm not going to keep your paper because I have it when I get home. It's already
Sustainability.
Yeah, save the planet. We're going through a lot right now. So yeah, save the planet. But I definitely
and I don't want it.
That's really what it is.
Please, Travarus.
Like my backpack full of papers, like students just leave them on the table. I'm like, please take this back. I
don't need this. Thank you so much.
No, but yeah, I would definitely say I always look and like students will like take notes. I'm like, oh, like I would change this. I would add more details here. I would add your experience here if you have this product. Like I just kind of let them know because what is my job? Like that's also making my job easier because I've let you know how to move forward,
be a better candidate.
Yeah.
Look at Ariane saving the planet. One student, one resume
one piece of
at
paper
a
at a time.
Okay. Because I feel like a lot of recruiters just do not take the time to do that. And while you may tell them like you really only got these 15 seconds, maybe that makes a difference. So
and also at a conference, you have more time to interact. And like I will not be rushed. I'm so sorry because I'm already hungry. I'm already thirsty. Like it's a lot going on at conferences. It's high energy, and I like to be. I'm just an intentional person, especially if I'm in engaging with underrepresented communities. It's like I'm gonna give my all to y'all. So
it's nothing worse. I speak for myself. When you're talking to somebody, you're having an engaging conversation, but it's like a shadow looming, and they're just waiting for you to be done.
Lines that be waiting their turn.
What I end up doing is just inviting you over. Just don't be on this side of my shoulder. Like just come around and we can talk. Like I'll get to you next, but don't. Yeah, like come in, but
I'm not gonna get into it. But yes, that's like so frustrating. Or like I'm talking to somebody and they come up from the side. They're like, "Hey, excuse me." I'm like, I'm having a conversation.
Like, hey.
Let's be respectful. Let's be respectful. Everybody will have their time, but let's be respectful.
No, that's awesome. Everybody won't have their time.
Yeah, I don't move quicker by like pressure. That makes me want to go away from you. Yeah,
these people need. Everybody won't have their time. Some people might not.
People they look.
I know her in real life too.
Cool, nice to meet you. Like like some people are really just good. Like I see your resume, I'm like, yeah, you're good. Just apply. Like
that's what's up. That's
like
what's
fill the QR code because we're gonna prioritize them anyway. So it's like fill out the QR code. You're good. Like I don't need to say anything to you.
Oh, can you say more about that? Because that's people are gonna ask, what does that mean? You're gonna prioritize them anyway. What does that mean?
People that we engage with, say like I go to a conference and they scan the QR code, they fill out the information. We're gonna prioritize them because we already engaged with them first.
Yes.
I think they're gonna get an interview. That's not a guarantee. I don't make the decision anyway. But I'm gonna prioritize them. I might send them first to the hiring manager. I might say, hey, like advocate for them more if I met them in person and they have really great experience.
That's a gem.
Advocacy comes in.
That's a gem.
You know, maybe I need to go yap more. This
go outside.
All the students go yap. Look, don't go outside. It's getting warmer. Go and talk to people.
To be honest, this sounds like a tips with Taylor for real because that's a go to conferences because you could potentially be prioritized. That's like a game changer.
Because people aren't just spending money and having a QR code to just have a QR code. True. At least not my company. We're not doing that.
That's what people think, though. They think. I know. Because we heard it. We heard it. Go ahead, Taylor.
I was just saying it's a myth. We busting that myth.
Yeah, because we hear it. We hear it like people think that the QR code on the table is lazy. I heard it at Afrotech a million times. All they had was the QR code. Bro, if you don't scan that thing.
Right. I mean, I would say like get in line and ask questions if you have questions. Like that's what we're here for. But it's like and all companies don't always do on-site interviews, but some companies are doing on-site interviews. So like put your best foot forward, have your resume ready. If you want to work at a specific company and they're in a specific industry, have that resume ready. Because I know students who already had multiple resumes because they knew they came with the right energy. They knew
that's what's up.
So it's like, that's easy. But I would definitely say companies have to be held accountable. We're not just spending thousands of dollars to go to a conference and not have any ROI. We can't afford to do that. I don't care how much money your company has. Nobody's spending $20,000 on a booth, flying out 50 company representatives to have no hires. It doesn't work. So I would just say, make sure to scan the QR code, but also ask questions, be engaging. Don't be like kissing their butt, don't do all that, but just like be genuinely interested. Because if you want to work at a company, they have that information. They can talk about their goals. They can talk about how their team affects the business, the mission of the company, different things like that. So I would just say like, honestly, and also just show up, be genuine.
Yep.
I feel like students don't realize that everything's not transactional. Okay.
No.
You're not always going to get something from somebody else. Especially as a student, you should be absorbing information. You should be interested to see who who you are as a person aligns with what that company has going on? Do you align with their values? Do you align with their mission? Do you align with their projects that they have outside in the community? How they're supporting things that you're interested in or your community specifically as well? So I think just kind of thinking about those things. Because like I would go into an interview nervous and I'm like, wait, they're interviewing me, but I'm interviewing them too.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It's not just a one-way thing.
Absolutely.
You should also be interested in learning, because when you go to an interview, they want to see that hunger. They want to see that you want to learn. They don't want to see a know-it-all. They're not interested in that.
So, as you know, the podcast that we're on, Care to Elaborate, walks the balance between Gen Z and millennials. And because you have recruited for MBAs, which run the gamut of both generations, have you seen the difference in preparation and execution from millennials and Gen Z? And what is that difference, you think?
Yes, I will say this is like a known thing. I think MBAs are very
pretentious. I can say it.
Say snobby.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a no. Not everybody's not like that, but I think they're kind of sometimes entitled to like, oh, like I have this or I go to this school. Again, kind of talking about like where you went to school thing. To me,
pedigree.
I don't really care about that, honestly. Like if you don't have the skills,
I don't give a damn where you
going to Yale or whatever. Like, and I see your resume, I'm like, it doesn't reflect that. You know what I mean? So I would say, I think there is a difference, but I do think that this Gen Z is very proactive, and they're very like intentional about what roles they want to do. I've heard a lot of students come up to me like, oh, do you have corporate responsibility roles? Do you have like event marketing? Do you have like, they're really interested in making an impact and being boots on the ground. And I think that's really amazing. I wish companies had more opportunities like that, because they could really capitalize off of Gen Z talent. Like they're bringing a lot to the table.
Thank you. I feel seen. I appreciate that.
I asked that for inclusivity for all. I wasn't looking for you to prioritize millennials over Gen Z, unlike how Taylor just celebrated. I want information for all. I heard, you know what I heard? That's what I heard. I heard affirmations. I heard snaps when you said Gen Z is proactive. Yeah, I'm just saying.
No, because
I think millennials are. I think they're
no. You don't gotta highlight us. We're okay. I want Taylor to have her moment. Let her have her moment.
Call outs for me right now. Like I don't really have a call out. I feel like they're, getting promoted to their careers. They're elevated. They're doing things where it's like Gen Z's coming in and trying to make a name, but like millennials,
you know what?
Support that. They have.
Here's the mind fuck for me. As a millennial, and this is my third career, right? I'm always transitioning in my mind. I'm always striving. Whereas other folks feel like they're settled in their career. I don't have that spirit. I have a spirit of, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? Which is very kin to when you first get in your career. You're like, all right, I'm looking forward to something. So my enthusiasm for achievement allows me to identify with Gen Z, because they're just coming in with exuberance and they're happy, right? So even when I hear about millennials being like, yeah, they're more settled, I'm trying to get it. There are people in our company that I work for making $1 million working the same hours I do.
Making a who?
$1 million.
I saw somebody.
$1 million. My homeboy works at Apple and said that he sees Lambos pull up every day, and they work the same hours. They work at the same place. So that's to say, I'm not settled. I'm hustling. But
what people doing making $1 million? I need to.
Yeah, engineering. I don't think that about millennials. I think we're all kind of figuring it out, especially with our goals. Like that's why I pivoted from technical account management to now recruiting. These are very different careers.
Yeah,
like a lot of careers have transferable skills, so it's like you're not completely in the dark. You know what I mean? You have to get some certifications if you want to pivot to something more technical, but. I personally didn't want to be more technical, which is why I pivoted out of technical account management. It was a great foundational role for my career. I was originally hired as a consultant, but then the company changed their focus and they changed my role to technical account management before I started. So I was managing accounts. I was leading meetings. I was taking notes. I was guiding customers on product adoption. I was working with engineers and customer success. Like I was doing all the things. And so I felt like that really, really prepared me for any career. I could have gone into product management. I could have gone into program management. I feel like I could have done anything because of that foundational role. And so I feel like, I do feel like Gen Z is really more, what's the word? Like, I need this now type of thing.
Yeah. Impatient.
That's how it works. Like your first role might not be your favorite role, and you just gotta.
That wasn't a shot. That was. I couldn't find another word.
I mean, no, I think
it's not a shot. It's just y'all get money. Like if the role that you have is like, oh, I don't really like this. You're new here. You don't have to say I don't like this. I mean, you do, But give it a year. Give it a year because it takes
You
to
you
a
have
role
to,
Let
anyway.
it cook. Let it
Yeah.
marinate.
as the
It
kids
takes you
say.
a year to figure out what you're doing. Like you don't know what you're doing. So
I got one question before we give it to Taylor for our rapid fire section. One last question. As an HBCU grad, you've heard this trope before about HBCU grads don't want to move to the West Coast, or East Coast kids don't want to move to the West Coast, or what have you. Can you describe, if a company is on the West Coast and your internship is on, I mean, if the company's on the West Coast and you live on the East Coast, how does the relocation work? How does stipends work? Like, how is it possible to go from Maryland to California without spending any of your own money?
Shit. I know the
I think
answer
it
to that.
depends on the company. What you say?
Sorry. I said I know the answer to that. Hell no.
Listen, I think it depends on the relocation though, the relocation package.
Yeah.
Because like for example, I moved to Austin, Texas from Orlando, Florida, and though that's not as far, I had to ship my car. That was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I had to buy furniture. I had to get an apartment, and I think also just like I think it's possible. I think it's also just like, do you want to have a roommate? Where do you want to live? Like
Right.
realistically, that's why I didn't move to California because I'm like I'm not having a roommate. I'm having my own.
And ain't.
I was in a dorm for 4 years and that was trauma. So it's like I am having my own space. But also companies usually have like opportunities to get money from like new college grads. Like you can get like
Yeah.
a reimbursement usually with companies. So I would definitely take advantage of that. That's how I bought my first car. It was made like it was helpful. Because you're spending a lot of money in that time.
A lot.
Yeah.
But I do think it's possible. Because they're kind of responsible for that. Like they're responsible for you being able to move. But I think some things you will have to definitely supplement. And
Yes.
I mean, I feel like it's adulting, right? Like
100%.
It is.
you know, the option
Crash
to
course.
do what's best for you because like community is also important. Finding your way, like it's
Mm-hmm.
hard. It's hard. Like college was easy because all your friends are in the same proximity. Now your friends don't live by you no more. Now you got to kind of
Exactly.
think outside the box. You got to be an adult. You got to make decisions. You
Yep.
got to find your own community. You got to have the personality or like the drive to go and make friends and go do things. So it's a lot that goes into it. I would definitely just say students give yourself grace. I know I'm kind of adding to that, but like
It's
it's
important.
a lot of people that go to HBCUs are from the East Coast. I know a lot of people from California that went to HBCUs, but I would just say be open. Don't be tied down to your hometown. It's always going to be there. That's why planes are
Fluid.
real. You can
Yep.
always fly home. Challenge yourself and have a new experience. Like I would just say that too.
Love that. Just know that new experience may come with some cost.
Yeah.
The company will give you the money, but child,
Mhm.
that furniture, I said a bedroom set
Yeah.
$3,000.
Girl, I still got
And
mine because what it ain't
and the
broke.
cost
It.
and the cost is social. The cost is social as well.
Yeah, you got to go out, girl.
Yeah.
Drink $24. Lord Jesus.
Listen.
Anyway, let's
Y'all can come
let's
over.
get
We
it.
go to the little dinner party. Somebody bring some.
Okay, somebody bring the
See?
bottle. We can get 3
Let's go to the
bottles for the
park.
price
Have
of
a
3
blast.
drinks.
The park is free. Talk
Let's go
about
to
it.
the park, okay? Let's go
Okay.
to the movie when it's cheap.
Literally the dollar movie at that.
Right.
Anyway, let's get into some of these rapid fire questions. Okay, number 1, if you could give one hot take that is about recruiting that students should know, what would it be?
Travarus said it earlier. I wasn't qualified.
Oh my lord.
That's not a hot
No,
take, though.
know your
Um,
clientele.
I feel like I've shared everything, honestly. Like, I feel like just be prepared. Like, I don't know. What is hot take?
You also had a pretty great internship that you tell me about every day. So
It's fine,
I
bring it up, bring
understand.
it
Every
up.
day is crazy.
I was broke. I didn't I didn't have anything.
I was
had
too. I
nothing.
was in New York broke. Shoot.
Be
I
like
mean,
that.
everybody in New York broke, if you're
Right.
keeping it real.
Which is why I'm
This
not
is
there.
true. Okay. What is one myth about job searching that you like to debunk?
There's a job out there that's for you. Like don't compare yourself. I feel like everybody's so worried about other people. They're not focused on themselves.
Yep.
Valid.
That's why you miss an opportunity because you're looking at what Susie's doing. What are you
I got a post about that coming because, child, that be me. You can't be
doing?
in your own lane.
Yep. Keep your blinders on.
Literally. Okay. Can you elaborate on your job as a recruiter in 3 words?
Yes, I will say innovator, impact, analytics, honestly, because I'm held accountable for a lot of that. So innovator, impact, analytics. I feel like numbers matter. Numbers matter even if you're not in a technical role. Like, what are you
Oh
doing?
yeah.
That
How
data.
is it? How is it changing your manager's life?
Yes.
How is it changing the business's life? Numbers matter.
Literally. I speak to that in my own non-technical role. That was a great way to wrap us up. Ariane, we're gonna have to get you on for a part 2. I still got questions.
Yeah.
I got things.
Here.
I got
There's
things.
so much tangible value that you've shared, that I hope folks like really take notes on how to make sure you have those conversations, what networking looks like, how to have more than one resume, all these really tangible things that are required. And also, she's not looking at your cover letter.
She didn't even open it,
Take your
baby.
time.
She's not
go
looking
ahead
at
and
your
leave
cover
it.
letter.
I will
Leave
say
it
this. I know
in
we're
the
at time, but I will say this. I think a hot take is to always have a question at the end of an interview. Like,
Yes.
don't
Yes.
say I don't have any questions. You have a question. Even if it's when will I hear back from you, you have a question. And since
Yes.
we're, ending it out for the people that stayed, hello, congratulations. You got my number one question. The question that I always ask at the end of an interview is, if you could rate it from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, how would you rate this interview experience and what can I improve on for next time? And people, every single time I've asked that, I get great feedback. And they're like, I can tell that you want to learn. It shows that you really care about how you perform. It shows that you want to be successful. Also, what does success look like in this role in
That's
the
my
first 6
question.
months? Or what are some
Mhm.
challenges that I will
60 to 90 days. Yep.
6 months or the first 6 weeks, depending on how long the opportunity is for that internship? Ask a question always. And if they don't have an answer, they'll follow up with you about it, but always ask a question.
The caveat to that question is you got to be ready for the answer. And
Right.
Ariane, your mama taught you etiquette, so you have confidence, you understand what it's like to take feedback. Everybody, if you are asked that question, you got to stand in the fire. And if they say that it's not good, be okay enough to take that feedback and do something about it. But Ariane, thank you so much for your time. We definitely get you on for a part 2.
Yeah. For sure.
And yeah, for those who are still here, you got some great gems, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, y'all.